they did not have sexual relations with
I realize that this is something we
We're going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival parties.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfire.
Good morning, Cleveland. Welcome to another edition of Backfire.
Good morning, Vietnam!
That's a week out, man.
We need to change that to Cleveland. Good morning, Cleveland. Hey, put on your headsets. I want y'all to hear something this morning before we even get started.
And unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there, and all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bullshit, okay?
I think President Trump summed it up. People trying to take him out with a lot of bullshit right now. What do you think, Franklin?
I think he brings a lot of it on himself.
What's he done?
He got elected.
He got elected.
I don't know, what is it? What's the count up to? 8,000 false statements thus far?
Oh, I tell you what, isn't that good?
Look, here's the thing. I'm not going to argue with you, Franklin. I'm sure there's tons of those that I wouldn't see as a false statement. But I could do the same thing to Obama. It's not a reason to obstruct his presidency. And while we criticize and complain and duly investigated things like people dying under his orders and under Hillary's orders, we didn't obstruct his presidency the way you all are doing.
First of all, that's wholly false. You guys allowed nothing to go through for over 4 years.
Franklin, no.
That's a fact.
Not passing something is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about obstructing like that. I'm talking about actually damaging the office of presidency by, for example, Robert Mueller was the end-all, be-all for you all. Matter of fact, he was so important, you all were going to pass a bill that would have taken away the president's legal authority, which he had, to fire Mueller. Now that it appears Mueller has found absolutely nothing in the vein of what you all have harped on for 2 years, now, well, he's not really that important. The Mueller report doesn't really matter. His scope wasn't wide enough.
You're as if Whitewater never happened, John.
Well, frankly,
I mean, you guys set the bar for this sort of thing, and you don't care.
The president's own counsel, former counsel, Ty Cobb, gave an interview the other day, and first off, he extolled the virtues of Mueller, thought he was a wonderful man, but he said the president cooperated in every way, that he told everyone called to testify to go in and tell the complete truth. Whitewater, we couldn't get the record for years. And then, wait a minute, amazingly, the records we couldn't find turned up sitting on the White House library desk with Hillary's fingerprints on them, I might add, amazingly just turned up one day, and no one knew they were there.
So, John, when you say the president cooperated, does that include the parts where he goes out in front of the public and then blatantly lies about things we now know were lies?
Franklin, I'm telling you what his own lawyer said.
The reason this investigation goes on is because this president keeps saying things that are not true.
Let me say why this investigation is going on. This investigation is going on because Donald Trump won the election. It's been going on since before the election was over with. But after the election was over with, it really got stirred up. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Maybe if the president quit saying what a peachy guy Putin was, that maybe people would tend to believe him.
Well,
instead, he says things that are completely mind-blowing that you would have had a cow if a Democratic said. Let's be honest.
Just the same thing with North Korea. When he called him a scumbag and Little Rocket Man and all, you all said that was the wrong tact. When he turned around and complimented him, you said that was the wrong tact. You all just hate this guy because your flawed candidate failed to win the easiest election in the history of the country, and you're pissed about it. And you can't get over it.
What you can't do is embrace any principle you've ever had. and you've abandoned them all.
I criticize the man all the
Wait,
time.
no, you haven't, John.
Yes,
You
I
haven't
have.
a single thing about it.
That's not true.
You're all in now.
Go back and listen to our library of shows. I criticize you.
After
Steve
he
and I
got
have
elected-
argued over him.
after he
But guess
got
what,
elected,
Franklin?
you threw all those
He is
principles out the
president.
window.
Your people lost. You're flawed candidate. She
Alex,
gave a speech in
one of
Alabama
these
this
days-
week
one
where
of
she
these
came up
days-
with another excuse for
One
why
of
she
these
lost.
days, you guys are going to swim up to the surface, break into the air, and realize that Roland Martin set the lure deep in your throat.
Can I say something, Frank?
Because you swallowed it, hook, line, and sinker.
Frankly, you're a nice guy. You're even my
You
neighbor.
don't butter me up,
You're a
because I know
neighbor.
what's coming next.
No, you're a neighbor. You're a nice guy. How in the world can you hang on to all this crap that's going on this politically on your side of the floor? It's about time that you make a change, I think. I mean, I wouldn't want to. Do you really want to be part of this?
Yes, I do. I do.
You want to be part of
I
what's
do.
going on with the
I
Democrats
do.
right now?
We are
Wait a minute,
actually
I wanna
for
listen to
something.
You want to be part of
being able
it.
to use the N-word, being able to do blackface, being able to sexually assault people without any real comment.
Actually, our people have paid consequences
haven't,
for that.
Franklin.
They resigned their
No,
jobs.
they didn't.
You
There's now the
voted for
governor,
yours.
the lieutenant governor, and let's see, that's a Maryland House of Delegates that used the N-word this past week.
We called on this guy to
No,
resign,
you
didn't we?
haven't.
Didn't
Actually,
we?
Senator Warner, the senator from that state, is now backing off of that. Your people are all in place. They get away with that, and you
And
know
you
what?
guys
So
just
by all
do whatever
means,
you want
own
to
it,
do and
Franklin.
say it's
That's your
okay.
party. Own it. By the way, AOC, now we know that AOC is violated campaign finance laws to the tune of over $1 million.
I'm not scared of the law being enforced and prosecuted, John. Why are you guys so terrified of it?
Wait a minute. You've had
I'll tell you why,
years.
because you're swimming in corruption, and they'll all go down in the end.
What did Mueller find then? Where's the corruption?
Well, we don't have his report yet.
Well, but your people are already discounting it, Franklin.
Yeah.
I haven't
It
discounted
was the
anything.
end-all, be-all.
All right.
Now it's being
When
discounted.
his report's given, is it all over with?
I
Can
don't
we shop for a while?
I don't know.
No.
We'll see what we find out.
Not because Nadler's already said he's going after it. Adam Schiff is going after it. They're going to actually reinvestigate.
You mean
the
doing
very thing.
Congress's job? What y'all
No, it's
did?
not their job, Franklin.
Y'all did it the whole
First
time.
off, about half of what they're investigating happened before he was president. That's not their job. That's not oversight. It's not oversight.
Wasn't that what Whitewater was about? Something that
Franklin.
happened a decade before somebody was president? Y'all didn't care then? Just embrace your hypocrisy,
No,
John.
Franklin.
Just say it. I don't care
Newt
because
Gingrich,
it's our
Franklin.
guy now,
Newt
and we don't care
Gingrich.
about the principle.
Let me
Don't act
answer
like
you.
you do.
Let me answer you. Newt Gingrich just this week said that Whitewater was a mistake.
Oh, 25 years later.
But let me tell you something, though, Franklin. Was it a
25 years
mistake?
from
Was
now,
it a
maybe we'll
mistake
have
to?
that.
Was it a
Kumbaya
mistake to say a sitting United States president shouldn't commit perjury in a federal court? Was that a mistake? Well, that's what the impeachment was about. Now, it was still politically a mistake. But guess what? Your guy,
But that's not what Whitewater was about, was it?
No, it wasn't, Franklin. But Newt Gingrich said that was a mistake. The man who did it said he shouldn't have probably pursued that. But here's the deal. The impeachment wasn't about Whitewater. You keep throwing Whitewater up. Whitewater was an investigation. The impeachment was because a sitting president committed
counsel
what
looking
part of
into a failed real
Let me ask
estate
you,
deal
Franklin, as
a decade
an
before
officer of the
president.
court, is perjury okay with you?
Of course not.
Should the sitting president shine the example of committing perjury and getting away with it?
Of course not.
What happened to him? Was he
He paid
prosecuted?
a large
No, he paid
political
nothing.
price.
He's become a multi-millionaire.
Okay.
And he, up until you all decided that maybe he did molest a bunch of women, perhaps even rape some, you kind of pushed him aside. But he was a multi-million-dollar, 100,000 crowd-drawing Democrat attraction.
Okay.
Franklin, it's gotten to a point that's pretty ridiculous. What
Well,
the
it is
Democrats,
ridiculous.
it
What
is.
is ridiculous is
It-
how you guys
Franklin.
turn your blind eye
To
and
what?
don't see what's happening.
To what?
You're getting fleeced.
What we
I've
getting
listened to
fleeced
you
over?
guys for years talk about
What are we
fiscal
getting fleeced over?
responsibility.
Franklin, what
How
are we
about
getting
this
fleeced
one?
over?
How about this one?
I
The
agree.
budget deficit's up 77%
I
in 1
agree
year.
with you.
1
I
year.
agree with you, Franklin.
How about this one? The corporate taxes fell 23% last year, while their profits soared. Right?
Isn't it a terrible problem?
Yeah, when you
I don't agree with
when
on
you
that. Guess
claim
what?
to be fiscally
In a
responsible.
capitalistic society, corporate profits are supposed to soar.
Yes,
And I'm okay with
Amazon
that.
paid no taxes last year to the federal government?
Well,
Zero.
That's
How do you justify
Because
that?
we've told you all for
Why do you
years.
think they did that?
Because you guys let them get away with it. That's why.
You let them get away with it. Somebody did
You
make
are
the
in
tax
charge.
Somebody didn't make the giveaway tax laws.
Franklin, I've said for years, the problem with you all's tax increases is regular working people can't afford
increase?
the
Nobody
regular
said
work.
tax
I know,
increase.
because we cut taxes. But by the way, your people are proposing new, like the health care. 100 House Democrats have signed on to a health care bill that will outlaw all private insurance and will cost $40 trillion the first 10 years. It will require a doubling of the United States budget. Now, I agree with you. We got a real problem with the deficit. And I don't like the fact that it's gone up under Trump. It went up under Bush. It went up under Obama. It's gone up under everybody. That personally, I believe that's a problem for the United States people because we keep allowing government to sell us that they'll do X, Y, and Z for us.
Actually, John, the yearly deficit went down under Obama.
No, the first
Just like
year
it
it
went down
set a
under
damn
Clinton.
record, Franklin.
That
It
wasn't
went
his
down after
budget.
that.
That was Bush's budget, and you know
No,
it.
it's not, Franklin.
Yeah, it is.
The second year it set a record. The first year was the record. The second year was higher than anything before. It was slightly lower, but the coming down part on his never came down below what it was when he took
Consecutive years,
office.
it fell.
But it
Six
never fell
consecutive-
enough to do away with the
Six in a
increase.
row.
You always
2
say
in a
that in
row.
this argument.
You guys have blown it up. Just like you did the last time you got the
Fine, then
keys
why
to
don't
the
you go on
bank.
record right now to cutting entitlements? Go on the record. We're going to cut
There's a
entitlements.
bill right now that has 200 bipartisan sponsors in the House that shores up Social Security through the end of the century.
Go on record for cutting entitlements. Say you want to cut welfare spending, you want to cut Medicare spending, and you want to cut Medicaid spending, because those are the three drivers of 75% of the deficit.
I don't.
Of course you don't, because you all buy too many votes.
Because I don't
with
want to.
that crap.
I want to stop pursuing
Buy
these
too many
insane
votes with it
economic
is the problem.
policies you guys are doing
Buy
that
your
can't
votes
possibly
with
work.
government dollars.
You know, China and U.S. is pretty close to a trade deal right now, aren't they?
Maybe. I hope so.
Is that working?
Well, if it works, it would be good.
Well,
We're not there yet, though, are we?
well, you know what? We're closer than we've ever been.
Maybe, but then,
Are we making
but
money?
then Mr. Genius this week goes out and does what? The one person
went
out
to
there,
Vietnam.
the
He
people
went to Vietnam.
No, but
No, he
that
went to
that
Vietnam.
since then.
Well, what
Since he came back.
So what did he do since he's been back?
He decided to open up a fight with the biggest ally we have against China over there, which is India, and say he was going to put penalties on them. Right when you need them to support his position, that's when he decides to punch them in the nose. It makes perfect sense.
You know what? I think he's got a pretty good strategy.
What would that be exactly?
Well, he's getting a lot done right now, and nobody knows how.
Franklin, we're in a better position with China and North Korea than we've been in years. Both. Your people are forced to have to actually admit that. So whatever he's doing seems to be working.
You know,
And what y'all do...
What do you mean? No, let's go down the list.
Wait a minute.
Let's go
What
down
you
the
just
list.
did is
Let's-
perfect. No,
let's
wait a
go
minute.
down the
What you
list
just
here.
did is perfect.
Let's
Franklin.
go down the
You
list
did
here.
exactly what
We're
y'all
in
did
a
to
better
North
position.
Korea. We are in a better position. The markets are showing it. Everybody agrees we're in a better position.
We got what this week? We found out that he
This
canceled.
week.
He
We got
canceled our
76,100.
joint military exercises over there. And
South Korea wants to cancel those.
no, they don't.
Actually,
No,
did.
they don't, John. They don't want to cancel those.
Franklin, listen to me.
They
You're
asked
doing
that we not
exactly
cancel
what
those.
I said you do. You're nitpicking week by week.
Nitpicking?
Yes.
And
What do you
then
think?
what happens?
Well, it's progress.
What do we find out this morning?
Well, tell us.
North Korea started rebuilding their missile
And
facilities.
John Bolton came out with a really hard statement on him.
And the president, day before yesterday, said he's a really special
Well,
guy.
you know,
We
can
got
I-
together,
it's-
and I trust him.
I want to say something about that. As Trump was meeting with Kim in Vietnam, what was happening? What was going on? Was the Democrats trying to help him get this?
What does that have to do with
They
the
were holding
Well, the
him. They
Democrats
were- they
helped
brought
trying to
in a
help-
guy specifically meant to
They
impress.
did nothing to help. They did everything to tear it
While
apart.
the U.S. president was
How would-
negotiating a nuclear
I
arms
mean, that's right. Look, you're laughing. That's not a funny matter.
Because you think Kim Jong-un was watching the Cohen hearings?
I think so.
I'm sure his
I think his people were. I think they
Absolutely,
watched.
you know
I think
his
they
people
I'm
watched.
were.
sure.
Let me tell you something. I think they
Here's
watched.
what he got.
Hey,
He got the pictures he wanted.
Franklin, I think they watch all this crap that goes on in America.
Of
Yes,
course
I
they
do.
watch it.
Yeah, I do think
Franklin,
that.
and despite whether he
And I
watched
think
it or
y'all
not,
are hurting America
it's
right now. I think it's
disrespectful
really a
what they did
disgrace what you're
last
doing.
week.
Okay.
It was disrespectful, Franklin, to the office of the presidency.
It's terrible what's going on in this country right now under the Democratic
the
Party.
legitimacy of the president.
I'm going to tell you
to
something.
even hold off.
I wish the election
Yes,
was
that
tomorrow.
is disrespectful,
yes,
John?
it is, Franklin. It is.
You didn't care then.
What? I wasn't a big proponent of that. Personally,
Oh,
Franklin,
well, you weren't a big critic of it
well,
either.
here's the deal, Franklin. Obama instigated that. He could have shut it down right at the start because he thought it actually helped him, and quite frankly, it probably did help him.
Yeah,
And so he actually encouraged that.
What are you talking about? Cash for Clemson?
He's talking about the questioning his birthright. And
I
Obama
still don't think
could have
he's an
shut
American.
that down years earlier by simply releasing that birth certificate, and he wouldn't.
I still don't think he's a citizen. Hillary Clinton, what is her deal right now? She blames.
butthurt.
Wait a minute. I don't understand this. Hillary Clinton blames gutting a Voting Rights Act for her 2016 loss. That's her latest one.
Yep, I know.
What is the Voting Rights Act?
What is the Voting
Court
Rights
actually
Act?
strengthened the act.
Mm-hmm.
That ruling she's quoting actually strengthened the act. But she, the
what?
woman can't admit that she just was a terrible candidate and she lost.
Well, we know that. Do you know
The
that?
state she's actually referring to is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And she's saying, 80,000 people were obstructed from voting and she would have won Wisconsin. Guess what? She would have won Wisconsin if she'd gone and campaigned in Wisconsin at least once. She didn't even show up to the state. She's a loser and can't admit that she's a loser.
Well, she's just a bad candidate, period. Her husband was pretty, he had a lot of charisma about him.
Guess what? He went to
has
Wisconsin.
She has no charisma.
Oh, that's what it's
And
about.
he actually
Charisma.
campaigned in, well, it was, Franklin. That's what got him elected.
What do you think Ocasio-Cortez has got? You think she's smart?
No.
Well, she certainly looked that way when she was questioning Cohen.
Do you think she had any coaching on that?
Oh, well, actually, what she said was...
I don't think she was smart enough to know what questions
she and her
she asked.
staff spent weeks preparing. Yeah, that's what she said.
I don't think she had enough sense to figure out what she asked. I think she was coached. And the guy coaching her was little Lanny right behind her. That's Hillary's attorney. He was sitting right behind her.
Who?
Lanny Davis.
Lanny Davis.
He was sitting behind Cohen.
And he was sitting behind her, too.
No.
Well, actually, Lanny Davis did apparently cooperate with the Democrats to help with the questioning. This was a sideshow.
This was nothing but
And it was a
show.
sideshow while the
Frankly, it's
president was
ridiculous.
out of the country negotiating a nuclear treaty.
It's really obvious how crazy it is, and I can't believe you're still going along
It
with
is really obvious how insane this man is.
Which man?
Our current president.
What?
See, that's the problem, Franklin.
Yeah.
I didn't like Obama. I never said things like he's insane.
That's because he wasn't, John.
See, that's the problem.
You just
Franklin.
disagreed with him.
No,
There's a difference.
No, here's the deal. You just proved my point. There's no reasonableness in you all. The man is a successful real estate agent. He's a
That's not even clear at this
entrepreneur, a entertainer. He's a success. Whether you like him or not, he's a success. And the fact that you are so unself-aware that you can't see what you're doing.
John, foreign
Yellow.
policy in our country is being run by the man's daughter and son-in-law
Franklin,
who've been given security clearances when all of our professionals said they shouldn't have
I'm
them.
glad you brought
Are
that
you
up.
kidding me?
Guess what? Here's the deal on that. You all are going to investigate that. That is a lawful action by the
You know
President
what?
of the United
That's
States.
right, John. You're
And you have
exactly
no
right.
business
And
investigating
this
that.
is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. The president could have said, I have the authority to do this. I made this decision, and I think that's what should have happened, and I did it. Instead, what did he say? He said, I didn't do anything to meddle with the security clearance. And that was what he said publicly, John.
Right.
And that turns out to be a bald-faced lie.
Nothing
Wait,
wrong
is that
with him.
true? Is it
I
true
don't
or
know if
false?
it's true or not.
He's saying it publicly. You didn't see him?
Franklin.
Come on,
I
John.
don't know
What are you
whether he
yelling about?
interfered with it or not.
Because you can't just abandon everything that you say and then act like somebody's going to take you seriously.
All people
We're
have to
gonna
do
have
is
to- we're
listen
gonna have
to
to
your
ban
tone
you
of
from
voice and
CNN.
they can
I'm
know
telling
you're
you, you need
crazy.
to wait
Now,
for
see,
too long.
I'm going to have to ban me from watching the president say one lie after another publicly and then go, what? I lied?
When you
Oh, my
talk
God.
about foreign policy, when Obama started, foreign policy was being managed by a guy who voted present 360 times in the Illinois state legislature.
I love this cartoon. I just saw this cartoon that was in the paper. Michael Cohen.
Well, there's nothing like a convicted lying to Congress testimony to Congress.
I absolutely love that. I love that.
What did you get from that? What did he do to the collusion narrative?
Yeah.
He destroyed your collusion narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
He never went to Russia. And you know what? Devin Nunes and Mark Meadows are going to continue, and we're going to find the collusion, because the collusion was with the Hillary Clinton and the DNC. Obviously,
You guys are in charge of the investigation.
no, we're not. Actually, you all are
that,
now
John.
in the House.
Of course you can do that.
The Senate came up
The
with no
Department of
collusion.
Justice, John, is controlled
Now,
by Republicans.
frankly, you are now going to have the Mueller report is going to say no collusion. The Senate report has already said no collusion, and your House
Hey, Franklin, what is your
Jabba the Hutt Nadler is going to continue with investigating the very same ground again.
Franklin, what is your proof that he lied?
About which thing?
Anything.
Okay.
Let's start. Tell me all the lies. Wait a minute, how many lies has he told?
16,000.
16,000 or something?
No, don't make it worse than it is. It's only 8,000.
Okay.
Well, he said publicly, you saw him if you were paying attention, that he didn't do anything to get Kushner a security clearance. I didn't influence that at all. Turns out his own chief of staff wrote a memo saying that he should not be given a security clearance, and the clearinghouse, the people who do the background investigations, also said he shouldn't have gotten it.
Why?
All right?
Tell
And
me
the
why.
president
Tell me why he shouldn't have gotten one.
Well, we don't know that, because guess what? Because they've refused to turn over any of the records.
You mean like Obama refused to turn over all his records?
Obama
Fast and Furious? Yes, he did, Franklin. He actually violated subpoenas. We talked about it here. Multiple subpoenas were violated by the Attorney General of the United States under him.
I'm still
You asked me a question. There's an obvious one.
No, I'm still asking.
How about, I don't know anything
How do you
about
know?
Miss Clifford or Miss Daniels. How about that one? When he said that publicly.
Well, for example, Cohen said that he had checks. Well, first off, Franklin, I want to know how Cohen had the president's check.
Because he sent it to him.
You cash a check and it goes
Well,
back
then
to
you'll
the
make a
president.
copy of it, John.
So in other words, and by the way, as a lawyer, Franklin, what's probably the top cardinal rule of dealing with your clients? Is confidentiality anything you all are sort of hypocritically, supposed to honor?
Sure.
What did Cohen do?
Sure.
What did Cohen do?
Well, it depends on which part you're talking
He has completely violated his oath as an attorney. Of course, the fact that he's not an attorney anymore because he's been disbarred.
The privilege doesn't extend to a criminal act you're participating in, number one.
I'll tell you what, Franklin, let me ask you a question. When a client comes into an attorney, first meeting, if you give that kind of explanation to the client, do you think they're going to hire you?
Well, hopefully
Do you think
not.
they're gonna hire
If
you?
you intend on committing a crime with
No,
them.
Franklin, they're not going to hire you because you know good and well that people expect everything they talk to their attorney about to be protected. And this guy violated every oath of your profession.
Fine.
And you're still holding him up as but
where
this
did I
time
do that?
he's telling the
Where did I do that?
You said this time he's telling the truth.
I didn't say. Where did I say that? Where did I say that?
Well, is he lying?
Did you hear a voice say
Good,
that?
then Cohen
One
lied.
of the voices in your head saying
Then
that?
good, Cohen lied in testimony, correct?
He may have. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Trump lies about everything. But now it's Cohen
here's what I can tell
Cohen
you.
may have lied, but Trump lied.
Here's what I can tell
Cohen may
you.
have lied, but Trump lied.
Here's what I can tell you right now. Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
Prosecutors every day of the year make deals with people like Michael Cohen.
They didn't make a deal with him because he didn't have any good information.
They did.
They made no deal with him for any of this.
Yes, they did.
No, Franklin, they made deal with him for things outside of the president. Nothing he had on the president was good enough for them.
And when they do that, they're not going to rely on his credibility to testify. He may testify, but he'll testify about things that they can provide corroboration for, either through the testimony of other witnesses or through documents.
So you trust a good prosecutor? Is that your point?
No, I'm telling you that that's what's going to happen.
So you
and
trust
it's not going
Mueller?
to be a test of Michael Cohen's
You
credibility.
agree Mueller's a good prosecutor?
By all accounts, Democrat and Republican who know him.
So that ought to settle the issue on collusion, correct?
It might.
No, it does it or doesn't. He's going to have a report. He's
First of
gave
all,
a
John,
2-year
I
exhaustive.
don't know what's going to come out of it.
Well, I'm
He's been
asking
awfully
you.
cocky
I'm
about it.
asking
You seen
you.
it?
No, I'm asking you if Mueller is a good prosecutor. He spent 2 years on this. His report will be sufficient for you. Is that what you're saying?
May very well be.
Why would you say it may very well be? Do you trust
Because
him?
I don't have any idea what's in it.
So, I mean,
Mueller may
wait,
come-
wait,
No,
wait.
let me finish. Let me
That's
finish.
a perfect answer.
Let me finish.
All right,
No,
go ahead.
Mueller's report may come out and say, we don't have the following answers. We can't determine an answer to this. I don't know.
What will another investigation find?
Probably as much as 27 Benghazi hearings would provide.
Well, in Benghazi,
Probably.
4 people died, Franklin. 4 people died at Hillary Clinton's hands.
No, they didn't.
Yes,
die.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they
Yes,
did.
they did.
One.
Yes,
Number
they did.
2, she at least
They
had
got
the
killed
guts
under
to
her.
show up and testify in front of the American people. Why don't your people do that?
Do you know why she had the guts to testify, Franklin?
No, she had them.
Because she wasn't the president of the United States, which she'll never be.
Fine, John.
She
Great.
was a loser out of a job at that point.
Embrace your hypocrisy, John.
was a
Embrace
loser
it. Just
out of a
say it,
job.
John. I'm a hypocrite and I love it.
Franklin,
I love it.
you're the one that won't commit to supporting the Mueller decision.
I commit.
He was so important you all wanted to pass a law to protect him, but now
I
you don't care.
commit to him being an honest man.
But you don't. But if he doesn't give you what
He's
you
not going
want,
to lie.
but if he doesn't give you what you want, you will keep persecuting this sitting
not
president.
true. He
of the
may
United
come
States.
out and say the president's in the clear. He didn't do anything.
He is going to say that. That's why Nadler, Jabba the Hutt, is going to continue with a new
And
investigation.
that's what amounts to a thought in the Republican Party. Let's see how many nicknames we can give people.
Actually, that's mine. I just think he
I
looks
know
like
because
Jabba
you
the
didn't.
Hutt.
Because
I
Trump
think he
already
looks
did
like Jabba the
Fat
Hutt.
Jerry.
I think
right?
he looks like Jabba the Hutt.
All right, I want some lies that Trump sowed.
I just gave you one.
Well, give me one.
I gave you
Give
a
me
second one.
No, give me one that you really are
I'll tell you what,
firm with.
Franklin,
You
you've got a
got a baby.
politician that hasn't told a lie. Name one politician that
I
doesn't
just
hasn't
said
told.
he's
I don't
going
like it.
at a rate that's unprecedented.
Oh, so now we're down to the rate.
How many subpoenas were served the other day?
Well, they want to question 81 people.
Actually, there weren't 81 subpoenas, sir.
How many were?
There were letters sent asking them to
Oh,
produce
so another
documents.
lawyerly answer. It wasn't a subpoena. It's not. He's right. There wasn't a subpoena.
All right.
But if they don't respond, they will be subpoenaed.
Some may not.
Why did they send 81 letters this soon? I mean, what's the purpose
What
of this?
difference does it make if it was
Because
81?
they hate
or
this president,
They,
and they're
wait a
trying
minute,
to
this
disrupt
president,
his
wait a minute,
presidency.
wait a minute. Everybody said, don't bother Mueller's investigation. We don't want to do anything to bother his investigation. Right? Now then, is the investigation
How does-
complete?
how does-
Is the
how does-
investigation completed
How
yet?
does producing documents bother the investigation?
Why would, well, anything they do could bother the investigation.
Y'all just said it's about
Now, wait a
over.
minute. No, wait a minute.
Which is it?
It is about over, but why would you want to try to influence the investigation right now or trouble this investigation? Always before,
These are people that have already been interviewed by
Trump
Mueller.
was going to fire him. Trump 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 was going to fire him. That's all you harped about for a long time.
And
Until Trump didn't fire him.
and probably didn't because of all that harping.
Oh, you think that did it?
Yeah. While y'all sit here and laugh at the president making fun of us dumb Southerners down here.
I tell you what I'm doing. I'm laughing.
I'm going to recuse myself.
He was making fun of Jeff Sessions.
Yeah, us Southerners.
No, Jeff Sessions.
Jeff Sessions, the do nothing.
And quite frankly, as a Republican, this is no different.
Just grin and bear
This
it.
is different from you Democrats. I'm confident enough that it doesn't bother me when someone jokes about things, Franklin. I'm not the kind of person that files a complaint because the comedian singled me out in the nightclub.
There you go.
Do you think this trade deal could be the biggest thing ever with China?
It'll fix a lot of things.
I hope it does.
It's already what Trump's done on the tariffs has really helped things, hasn't it?
You know, it's hard to say. In negotiating, everybody has their different styles. But my point, Franklin, and you made my point, you all are picking at him week to week. When he does one thing, he's wrong. When he does something that's honestly almost diametrically opposite, he's wrong there too. You all are hoping for a collapse. You're hoping for a failure.
They want to try to find some reason.
Well, here's what this is going to do. Nadler,
they haven't got anybody that can beat him.
Nadler and all these people are going to start up these hearings. They're going to let the hearings go, and then next spring during the primary season, they're going to start dripping stuff out. And then they're going to release reports in the summer. This is basically taking the machinery of the United States government and using it to help defeat a sitting president. So they are using government. They're not going to be passing any laws that help the people. They're going to be helping the Democratic Party.
One of the things they haven't thought of, they haven't produced anybody that can beat him. There's nobody capable in the Democratic Party of beating Donald Trump. Let's take a break.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
Why can't you admit that Harry Reid is a loser and he's been a horrible majority leader and he's destroyed the mechanism of the United States Senate?
Hello. I'm the doctor.
And you're listening to WOOPLP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Another SOS, and you're stressing, and that's the time to check in. I check in to cash, check in. When you have a cash emergency, you check in. We understand the urgency of check in. To get your loans and more, you gotta check in with your checking to cash. Walk in, call in, click in, go all in. Check in to cash in, and check in to cash. Your one-stop money shop. Check into cash.
Matthews Pool and Spa Company, located in Cleveland, Bradley County for over 45 years. You know them. They're your new swimming pool construction and supply company in Cleveland, Tennessee, now with 4 generations of Matthews to serve you. Matthews Pool and Spa Company, for over 45 years, your swimming pool construction and supply company, spa or hot tub installation and maintenance. Get all of your supplies for your pool or spa right now. That's the new location in the old Quinn Electric Company building behind KFC at 2724 Key Street in Cleveland. Call Matthews now, 476-4521. You better get your order in now for your new pool construction for this spring and summer. 476-4521. Matthews Pool and Spa Company. Gonna jump in. Woo!
Why would you put up with a heating and cooling system that cycles on and off when you can have quiet, true comfort, variable speed by train? It runs at low speeds with continuous little adjustments to keep your home comfortable and quiet. It's always been hard to stop a train. Now, it's hard to hear one.
When you want an unconventionally efficient heating and air unit that keeps your home right in the comfort zone, day in and day out, nothing will do but a Train. To get the best Train service, call your local Train comfort specialist. Mechanical Systems, 336-5739. Keeping you comfortable is Mechanical Systems' only business, and they've been providing high-quality service and installation for more than 30 years. Mechanical Systems, 336-5739. That's 336-5739.
It's hard to stop a train.
No dealers allowed.
Jackson Catnapper, family-owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933, offering the best with over 70 styles of recliners, sofas, electronic lift chairs, full living room packages. Call Mike now at 961-7239 because Jackson Catnapper now offers sales to the public
Every Saturday. That's right. Every Saturday.
from 8 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. Or call Mike at 961-7239 or go see him
Every Saturday.
at 1911 King Edward Avenue, just across from the main plant. Jackson Catnapper, family owned and operated in Cleveland since 1933, 961-7239.
No dealers allowed.
Attention, Cleveland area creditors. Are you tired of dealing with debtors that owe you money? I'm Jeff Renfro, and I've owned and operated Financial Recovery, a debt recovery specialist here in my hometown of Cleveland for 18 years. We're a licensed and bonded Tennessee collection agency working for a wide variety of creditors, from commercial, manufacturing, physicians, dentists, attorneys, small business owners, to individuals. Look, any kind of business dealing with billing, charge accounts, or even return checks. I know your past due accounts are not a top priority for you, you, but they would be to me. Let me try to make it easy for you to make a change in the way you've been handling your accounts. There's no contract and no cost to you in most cases, as our fee of only 30% can be added to the balance owed to you. So, whether you have hundreds of accounts monthly and need help with your billing and collection, or you're just an individual and somebody owes you money, let me help you. Give me a call at 400-5376 and I'll come by and see you. That's 400-5376.
Financial Recovery, a licensed and bonded collection agency in Cleveland, Tennessee. 400-5376. Yeah, you looking for something sweet? I know you are. Bring your little sweet self to the Village Bake Shop. Around since 1961, there ain't a baked good in the galaxy the Village Bake Shop can't whip up for you. So when you're ready to treat your mouth to a taste you won't soon forget, get over to the Village Bake Shop in the Village Green Town Center. Or give them a call at 476-5179. You dig?
Hey, Whoopsters, you got the blues, the winter blues? Well, let Economy Rental help you. That's right, it's tax refund season. Go buy Economy Rentals for your appliances, furniture, TVs, electronics, and more. And during this tax refund season, you can take it home today, pay it off in 90 days with your income tax return. That's right, Cleveland's first rent-to-own business, locally owned and operated for 35 years. 901 Sahara Drive, 472-6105. Hey, you can still rent a TV, a 55 or a 65-inch, at a recliner for only $5 a week. And of course, they always have that washer and dryer combo, only $19.95 a week. Or 2 rooms of furniture for only $39.95 a week. Lord, 90 days, same as cash, free delivery and setup. I tell you what, go see Stacy, Poteet, and the gang and check out all their tax refund season specials. I'm going myself. Economy Rentals, we make it easy to own. Don't get the blues. Come on down and see what the tax refund season can do for you. Visit them at 901 Sahara Drive or call 472-6105 or economyrentals.net.
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
All right, we're back live. We've got a visitor in the studio. We got Mr. Tony Young. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Tony's visiting us this morning. Going to sit in with us a few minutes, and I want to say that Tony's going to be starting a new radio show here on Whoop FM pretty soon.
Yes, it's going to start next week at 9 o'clock, following your show, and we're going to talk all things real estate.
All things real estate.
Yeah, we're going to have guests in. The first guest I've got booked is Joe Collins from Bank of Cleveland and Jess Miller with one of the local title companies, and we'll talk about that. And people can call in and ask them questions about that while we're talking.
Well, Tony's been in the real estate business a long time. How long have you been in real estate?
Full time now, 19 years.
19 years, and
yeah.
Anyway. He's involved in real estate. I've talked to him many times throughout the years about different real estate issues. And anyway, I think it'll be a real informative show. What's the name of it again?
We'll call it All Things Real Estate.
All Things Real Estate. So be sure to tune in next week. And starting at 9 o'clock, All Things Real Estate will be here with you. Anyway, Tony, we're going to let you sit in with us because I know you like to talk politics every now and then too. So.
Yeah. Been known to.
Anyway, I wanted to say, first of all, we'll start out. What about this ISIS bride wanting to come back to the United States? Should she or should she not?
No, I don't think she should come back at all.
What about you, Frank?
It's interesting. I'm not sympathetic to her at all. I did hear an interesting take on it that I hadn't heard. The senator down in Alabama, I saw him interviewed this.
Which one, Doug Jones?
Doug Jones, yeah. And his view was a little bit different. It was she should be allowed to come back, but she should be allowed to come back to face prosecution and imprisonment.
Well, I mean, that's a given, Franklin.
Well, not if she doesn't come back. It's not.
That's my point. I don't want her back.
I understand, but that was the other side of it. But that was a different way of looking at it. It wasn't sympathetic.
Well,
to
of course,
her.
it's a different way. He's a
Well,
Democrat that got
oh.
elected in Alabama, and he has a different view. But
So-
Franklin, here's what's interesting about this.
Pointing to prosecutors, not exactly radical.
No,
John.
but Franklin, it gives away if you let her in. I don't want her in by any means. I don't need to worry about prosecuting her because I don't want her in. She should live her life in one of the hellhole countries that will take her.
Give her to Iran and let her go there.
I'm expressing no sympathy for her.
Well, the funny thing about this is it's going to turn on I guess what her dad can prove, because the administration and the Justice Department is absolutely correct that she is not a U.S. citizen because he was a diplomat. But he is now claiming that he resigned as a diplomat 2 weeks before she was born.
I thought she just had a passport.
No, she doesn't have a passport. She was born to an active diplomat, and the law's clear. If she's born to an active diplomat, she does not get citizenship. But he's claiming that he resigned as a diplomat 2 weeks before she was born. That's what their claim is hung on.
I'm not certain that she had citizenship. That would raise some other issues if she had.
Well, but what they're claiming is she should have. She doesn't. She doesn't have a passport. She doesn't have a visa. She doesn't have anything like that. She was living here as the child of a diplomat, but he's trying to claim that he quit being a diplomat 2 weeks before she was born.
Dum da dum dum.
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
Oh, golly. What about the Greenpeace co-founder, Ocasio Cortez?
Greenpeace co-founder.
I'm sorry.
Ripped her.
Yeah. The Green New Deal, the pompous little twit. Tell us about it.
Well, he just went on a series of tweets. He said...
Patrick Moore, the co-founder of the environmentalist group Greenpeace.
He said that... this was one of the tweets. Pompous little twit. You don't have a plan to grow food for 8 billion people without fossil fuels or get food into the cities. Horses? If fossil fuels were banned, every tree in the world would be cut down for fuel for cooking and heating. You would bring about mass death. He just said she's an idiot and the Green New Deal is a joke.
Moo.
And that's the founder of Greenpeace.
Fascinatingly enough, Shell Oil bought a 20-page ad on the online page of the New York Times this week outlining their 100-year plan for addressing global warming and climate change, which substantially deals with dramatically lowering the number of the amount of fossil fuels.
But Franklin, that makes our point. She's an idiot. 100-year plan, 100-year plan.
No, but it's laid out in 10-year increments.
Yes, but it's a 100-year plan,
or maybe,
not a 10-year.
Or maybe what she did was spark a conversation that
No,
has
what
people
she
talking.
did, Franklin, is there's a demographic out there that Shell Oil wants to make sure their image is good for.
Maybe so.
That's what that is. By the way, there are people, I'm trying to think if it was Wisconsin, one of the northern states, that they had rolling blackouts during sub-freezing temperatures because the energy companies up there had gone with this deal of having wind turbines to supplement their natural gas. Well, they had a really bad cold spell, this polar vortex that came through a few weeks ago, and guess what? The wind wasn't blowing. Well, when the wind wasn't blowing, they had to rely 100% on natural gas. They didn't have enough capacity for natural gas, so they had rolling blackouts during the polar vortex. That's what you'll get with this crap. I don't know. I'm sure people probably did die.
Well,
but, a few people did die for the Green New Deal. No big deal.
They had a plan that substantially involves moving to greater reliance on natural gas and hydrogen.
Of course.
And hydrogen.
But, Franklin, her plan says you're not going to burn any fossil fuels. That's the point, Franklin. She's a moron. And this plan is ridiculous.
She has you talking.
She got you talking now.
Well, yeah, I generally don't like morons having control over our government.
Apparently not.
No, because I don't vote Democrat. You're right.
What's the latest thing? She's got some issues with her
campaign finance.
$1 million or something?
No, there's multiple things. Her and her campaign manager were in charge of a PAC, which was then in turn giving her money. That is expressly illegal. You are not allowed, PACs and campaigns are not allowed to have any coordination. Not only did they have coordination, she and her campaign manager were actually controlling the PAC itself. Plus, she's given her boyfriend money out of the PAC. The PAC was funneling money to her boyfriend, who now has amazingly a House email address.
By all means, investigate it and prosecute her if she breaks the law, John.
I think we will.
I think you should. And I don't think you should be so scared of these
Do you
investigations.
think we ought to just do it and not say anything?
Well, here's the funny thing about
Right
that.
ahead.
That investigation probably will get some steam because the Democrat caucus, the moderate Democrats, hate her guts at this point.
Yeah, they need to get rid of her somehow.
Of course, you've got the congresswoman from Minnesota that is obviously a rabid anti-Semite that they're trying to control. But, of course, Alexandria Cortez is defending her as well. On top of the fact that neither of those people will call Maduro in Venezuela a dictator. Neither will Bernie Sanders call him a dictator. And, you know, he's shooting aid workers trying to deliver food supplies to his people, but Franklin's party won't call the man a dictator.
Speaking of Venezuela, what's going to happen in Venezuela? What's the future there?
Well, eventually, I suspect that the people are going to rise up and they're going to support the challenger.
What are they going to rise up with? Because they took all their guns away from them. They had gun control like your party wants here.
There's some evidence that the military is cracking in terms of their support.
So, in other words, the people are totally dependent on the military deciding that they're going to switch sides.
He just asked me what's going to happen.
I know, Franklin.
He didn't ask me about any inane theories.
I think he brings up some good points, though, don't you, Franklin?
The government, that one of the first things they did was gun control, and they confiscated private ownership of guns. And so the people are basically victims. They're waiting for someone to save them. Now, Maduro went to Russia, and he went to China this past week, and he's now trying to get more military help from them. His problem there is he owes the Chinese, I don't know, billions of dollars, and he's paying them in gas. And so they're not real open to help anymore.
How could you spend that much money? How could you mismanage that much money that they had in Venezuela?
Well, first off, he destroyed the economy. Get this, there is over 1,000,000% inflation. I told you, a year and a half ago.
Did they offer free health care there?
Yes.
What happened?
Well, everybody has access to free health care. Now, you don't have any actual health care, but you got access.
They hadn't even got any toilet paper.
I told y'all a year and a half ago, there's a guy in a bread shop, and a person comes in to buy a loaf of bread. They don't actually count the money. The bread shop has a scale. They weigh the money. The guy set a stack of money on the scale, and they weighed it to buy a loaf of bread.
What do you think about that, Venezuela? What's going on with you, Franklin, and your thoughts about Venezuela?
Will you call him a dictator?
I have.
Do you think socialism works?
In general, no, I don't.
Well, how does it work anywhere?
Well, it works all the time.
Oh, you're talking about the fire department and the police department.
Some limited socialist principles
work. TVA has an element of socialism in it. It's worked pretty good.
Well, there's questions.
Well, it's because you don't remember all the flooding that happened back here. You don't remember what it was like before people had electrical power running into their homes. It worked pretty darn good. All right? That's an element of socialism. Crime rates are falling all over the place. The police department is an element of socialism.
But Franklin.
So, no, you act like that's an inane thought, John. It's just true.
Not. Here's the point. I told you last week, the most poisonous substance on the face of the earth is salt. We use it every day. It's a matter of degree. It's a matter of how much. Your people aren't asking for socialist policies.
Who's your people?
Your party. Your party. They're actually
Democrats,
calling themselves socialists now, Franklin.
Some members of the party.
The ascendant members of your party. Okay. Your own party chairman called AOC the rising and future of the Democrat Party.
What is a socialist Democrat?
They claim to be individuals who think that there are certain things that the government ought to do.
Well, you're a socialist Democrat.
Well, now, wait a minute, Frank.
Well, you're a socialist Republican. Do you believe that we ought to have public schools? That's socialism.
I really like what the governor's doing right now. I like what the governor's doing right now.
Do you believe we ought to have public schools, Steve?
Well, I think
that's socialism.
I think there ought to be options.
options or not, do you believe the government should have schools?
Not really. The private
You don't
sector
think
could do it.
You
don't think they could?
Well, they didn't before.
What do you mean?
That's why we have public schools, because they weren't doing that.
Well, now I think they would, don't you?
Why would they do that?
Why would they? What?
Why would all these private schools rise up and educate all these millions of children?
Because they want to pass socialism. Just like the guy that's considered the father of public education was a communist in the 20s, and he said the way you control a country is you control
you're opposed
generation.
to public education.
No, actually, what I'm for is vouchers to allow people choice.
And our governor, did you see what he just did? He's opening up the bandwagon for these kids to be able to take money out of the system and go to private school. I think that's great.
Let me go back to your original question. You asked about socialist Democrats. You know what a socialist and a Democrat are?
Tell me.
It's a synonym. Same thing.
He's been working on
Socialist and Democrat are synonyms of each other.
He just flew in from Poughkeepsie. Boy, his arms are tired.
All right, Tony, you're sitting over here. I'm going to get you to start talking a little bit.
All right.
Locations for another industrial park for Cleveland and Bradley County, yay or nay?
Yeah.
John, do we need to get started with another industrial park?
Well, I'm still hung up on the last, 10 years ago when we had leaders telling us that we didn't need shovel-ready land. Do we now need shovel-ready land? Is that what we've decided?
Well, evidently, we haven't got enough. We've got one ready to go.
Got one ready to go right now.
Need another one ready to come in. But
Well, I serve on the industrial board and have been on this industrial board since it started in its current form. And it's taken us 10 years to get from looking for a property to now having paved roads in that property.
well, it's talking about rails now. We need something with rail access.
We do.
Well, what about the Whirlpool property?
Well, the problem with brownfield is it costs 25 to 30% more to develop, and that.
Wait a minute. There's money for that now. The government, the feds have put money for brownfield to clean them up. That's what's going on with Southside Chattanooga.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to close a $20 million ballpark and move it in Chattanooga because of that.
But they're not going to take it and put a new industrial facility there. They're opening it up for other types of development.
Well, they're going to move They're going to move the ballpark over where the U.S. Steel was.
I understand.
And they're going to tear down the ballpark and put more housing.
I understand, but they're not talking about doing industrial parks in those lands.
Yeah, but his point was they're going to use federal money to clean up the brownfield.
But all he's saying, I think, is that that's not really a suitable place for another industrial park.
Right. There's a significant amount of that in the floodplain over there, and the way it's built, it's in a lot of different elevations that makes it hard for a large building.
The traffic patterns, the infrastructure, and stuff are
When
not
you
really
have
set
an industrial park with rail, what is you're going to have warehouses right there on the edge of the track?
Spurs.
Yeah, spurs where they can get large quantities of materials in and out of the facility.
Okay. Well, is there undeveloped land available on the railroad track? Large enough?
It's not much. I mean, it's not in large tracts. That could be a large industrial park.
Well, I guess the question then becomes: I agree with you that that's expensive and all, but maybe it's our only option.
The Whirlpool side.
Yeah.
Well,
what you do is you try.
Not really that many acres there, in contiguous park. I mean, it could serve a facility maybe.
What is there, like 70 acres total or something?
I think so, but there's, like I say, I don't remember. There's a good portion of it in the floodway and floodplain, that would have to be addressed.
There is some really low-lying areas there. Gentlemen, I've got to depart 5 minutes early today.
Oh, heck, Franklin.
I got to say, I can't remember when I've had more fun.
Well, I hope you're going to keep your client's confidentiality, unlike Cohen did.
Yeah. I will. I also hope that I'm not going to participate in any criminal enterprises today.
You're a lawyer, Franklin. That's a vain hope.
Hey, morning, Vietnam. By the way, we had more than 76,000 migrants cross in a month.
It's doubling from last year.
All from Guatemala.
Yes.
All economic refugees.
Yes.
Not terrorists.
So Franklin, actually, the drug cartels have now shifted because there's one guy guarding the Rio Grande because they're all being diverted for this increase in the migrant.
Hey, Franklin, if you can hear me, wave at me.
He can't hear me.
Franklin has left the building. All right, Tony, you're going to have to pick it up and knock him out.
Well, let me say something from last week. I think I made the canvas oil people mad at me. I'm not really concerned with canvas oil. The problem for me is that's an entire industry, and the industry is using things like canvas oil to get its foot in the door. It's using it to soften the image, and their ultimate goal is to have legalization of marijuana. That's what I'm concerned with. Canvas oil's fine. A lot of people believe in it. I have my questions about it. Hasn't been studied a whole lot, but people do believe in it. But the problem is the eventual goal is legalization of marijuana.
Well, in my opinion, it's already here.
Well, I said this last week. The lobbyists spent $1 million in Tennessee lobbying for the bill, and the bill included allowing cultivation in the state. When they were here, they were lobbying, they were staying, and then one of the guys that was a critical vote said, okay, I'm going to vote for it, but I'm going to strip out cultivation. When that happened, the lobbyists left the state. So what they want is cultivation and legalization of marijuana. They were talking about it this morning on the radio coming in here. The human brain continues to develop up to age 30. There are documented studies that show marijuana affects brain development. It stunts it. And so allowing young people to smoke it is a bad thing for our society.
Do you think that marijuana is going to be used for healthy things?
I'm fine with that, but my point is we need to be clear-eyed about what we're doing. The people that are really pushing this, they're not for healthy use, they're not for medical development, they're for legalization of recreational marijuana smoking. And that is a bad thing for our country.
Yeah. For what I understand, you said 30 years and under.
Well, I don't think it's a good thing for anybody, but it does affect brain development.
If it's legalized, it's probably not going to still be legal for someone under 21 to buy it.
Yeah, but you it's like beer. It's not legal for anyone under 21. Find a high school student that hadn't had a six-pack of beer.
Yeah. Well, legalization could control what's in it, too. I mean, I know over the years, there's been PCBs put in different marijuana, if you got the back alley people.
Well, the black market actually grew in Colorado. After they legalized it, the black market actually grew.
Because of taxes?
Well, the taxes and because they restricted, like you said. And so people didn't want the restrictions, so the black market actually increased in Colorado.
Well, I can't believe how many states have got marijuana going on in it, and they've got people growing it. And Colorado and all these farms that are growing it now. So,
and guess what?
And you know what? The federal government hasn't done anything about it.
Big tobacco is moving into the marijuana business. So all these people, that's what's always interesting to me. The same people that were ragging on big tobacco were the ones asking for legalization of marijuana.
Have you bought any marijuana stock?
No.
No, stock.
Stock.
In the stock market. Canadian marijuana market. There was a bunch of people made a lot of money in the stock market with that, didn't they?
Yeah, I guess. I
know you like to play with stocks a little bit.
Well, I still think there's a little morality involved too. I probably won't buy any prostitution stock when they legalize prostitution. The liberals want.
I'll tell you something. Tony, how do you feel about what's going on with our president right now? What's your opinions?
I like pretty much everything he does myself. I've not seen anything that he's done to hurt the country myself.
Well, I haven't seen anything he's done to hurt the country. All I've seen to do is help the country, but you just can't get past all these lies he tells, right, John?
Well, according to Franklin. Hey, there's another issue.
I'll tell you something. It's amazing.
That Connecticut has struck again with this transgender stuff. I don't know what I'm supposed to call them, men or women. They were born men. Now they say they're women. They won first and second place in the state 55-meter dash. One of the others also won the 300-meter and set state records. Okay, the women, the actual born women have no chance to compete against these people. Florence Griffin Joyner, you all remember Joyner, she set the record in the 100-meter dash for women that nobody has come close to since then, okay, in 1988. Today, in 2018, there are 15 men in the United States who have that same time as she set, and they are tied for 217th fastest. Now, the men, that record she set for women, in the world, it's actually, they're tied for 768th place. But she's actually the record for women. So women have no chance to compete against these transgendered people. And by the way, the Olympics are allowing it now. So women's sports is basically over at this point. Martina Navratilova, who is a champion in the LGBTQ community, criticized this, and she's now been attacked and ostracized. The liberals, and this is what kills me, women vote more with the liberals, the women bloc, especially the young women bloc. Liberal policy has now destroyed 50 years of success in women's sports.
I tell you something, and I honestly don't understand, but there's some weird stuff going on in our world right now, and these liberalist, socialist Democrats, I just don't see how. I mean,
well, Trump's a racist. Mark Meadows has a black woman who works for Trump come and talk about how good he's been to her, and guess what they say? Asking the black woman to testify was racist.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
So if you're a racist if you don't defend yourself, if you defend yourself, you're a racist for defending yourself.
It's just nonstop. I really think right now, if there was an election tomorrow, Trump would win 2 to 1.
Well, they're going to
vote.
reelect him with all this stuff.
I think he's going to win 2 to 1 popular vote. If we had an election tomorrow, I think he would.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we're out of time, so we're going to tell everybody goodbye. Franklin's not yelling and screaming in here, so we'll have a quiet exit this morning. So
listen to my show next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, Tony, tune in to Tony. What's the name of the show again?
All Things Real Estate.
All Things Real Estate, especially if you're looking for something to do with real estate, or if you want to sell something with real estate. Check with Tony right here at Whoop FM 99.9. See you next week. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson, John Stanberry, and Franklin Chansey. Catch them again on